You know that feeling when your phone rings at 3 a.m. and it's a number you don't recognize? Your heart races because part of you knows exactly who it might be. Maybe it's your brother who disappeared 8 years ago, your business partner who destroyed your company, that friend who slept with your spouse. And here's what nobody tells you about betrayal. It doesn't just break your heart once. It breaks it over and over again, every single day for years. You think you moved on. You tell everyone you're fine. But late at night, when you can't sleep, that anger is still there, burning, still poisoning everything you touch. Your marriage, your kids, even your prayers feel hollow because you know you're supposed to forgive, but you just can't. What if I told you there's a way forward that doesn't require you to pretend it didn't happen? A way that actually works, even when everything else has failed. Meet Marcus, 41 years old, financial advisor in Seattle, married to Rebecca for 12 years, 2 kids, ages 8 and 10. On paper, he's got it together. 6-figure income, nice house in the suburbs, respected in his church, volunteers with the youth group. Ask anyone, and they'd say Marcus is the guy who has his life figured out. But here's what they don't see. 15 years ago, Marcus and his older brother David started a business together. David was the charismatic one, the visionary. Marcus handled the numbers, managed the back end, kept everything running. They were building something real, a financial consulting firm that was actually taking off. Until Marcus discovered David had been embezzling $75,000. Money from their clients. Money that Marcus, as the CFO, was legally responsible for. David disappeared before the auditors came. And Marcus? He spent the next 3 years paying back every cent, destroying his credit, postponing his wedding, living in a studio apartment eating ramen. David's betrayal didn't just cost him money. It cost him his 20s. Marcus told himself he'd moved on, built a new life, better career, beautiful family. He hadn't spoken to David in 12 years. Then came a phone call. Their father had a stroke. Massive. The family needed to decide about life support. And suddenly, David was back, flying in from wherever he'd been hiding, acting like the concerned son, crying at Dad's bedside. Something inside Marcus snapped. Not there, not in front of their dying father. But in the hospital parking lot, when David approached him, tried to hug him, Marcus shoved him away. Hard. You don't get to do this. You don't get to play the grieving son after what you did to me. The look on David's face, shock, hurt, confusion, like he'd genuinely forgotten. Like ruining Marcus's life was just a minor mistake from the distant past. That night, sitting in his car, Marcus realized something terrifying. He'd become someone he didn't recognize. Angry, bitter, hard. His wife had been saying it for years, but he'd ignored her. The unforgiveness wasn't hurting David. It was destroying him. Marcus had tried everything. 5 years of therapy with a Christian counselor who helped him process the trauma, set boundaries, understand why David did what he did. It helped, but it didn't take away the anger. He read every book on forgiveness, practiced mindfulness. His pastor told him, "You need to forgive 70 times 7. Great. Except Marcus had been trying to forgive for 12 years and still felt rage every time he thought about David. His wife, Rebecca, finally said something that broke through. "I'm not asking you to forgive him for his sake. I'm asking you to forgive him for ours. Because this bitterness is killing our marriage. The kids can feel it. You're angry all the time, controlling with money. You don't trust anyone. This isn't who you are." She was right. He'd become paranoid about finances, hovering over Rebecca's spending, refusing to let his kids have allowances because they need to learn money isn't free. He couldn't enjoy success because he was terrified someone would take it away. Here's what Marcus finally understood. All the therapy and self-help in the world couldn't give him the power to forgive. Because forgiveness isn't a decision you make once. It's a supernatural act that requires supernatural strength. And he didn't have that strength. Not on his own. 3 weeks after his father's funeral, Marcus was reading his Bible during his morning routine. Honestly, more out of obligation than expectation. He'd been a Christian for 20 years. He'd heard 1,000 sermons about forgiveness. None of them changed anything. But that morning, he read Colossians 3 verse 13 like he was seeing it for the first time. "Bear with each other and forgive one another. if any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. He'd read that verse 100 times. But 4 words hit him differently. As the Lord forgave you. Not because it's the right thing. Not because time heals all wounds. Not because David deserves it. But because of how God forgave him. Marcus started thinking about his own life. The lies he told clients early in his career to close deals. The times he'd cut corners on his taxes. The ways he'd emotionally checked out of his marriage when things got hard. The anger he'd unleashed on his kids over small mistakes. And somehow, impossibly, God had forgiven all of it. Not because Marcus earned it. Not because he apologized perfectly. But because that's who God is. And suddenly the math changed. This wasn't about whether David deserved forgiveness. It was about whether Marcus had truly received the forgiveness he'd been given. Because if he understood the size of his own debt, the one that was completely erased, forgiving David's debt became possible. Not easy, possible. Here's what changed for Marcus. He stopped trying to manufacture forgiveness through willpower and started praying something different every morning. God, I can't forgive him in my own strength, but you can forgive him through me. Some days it felt like empty words. Other days, something shifted. He started praying for David. Not elaborate prayers, just simple ones. Bless him today. Help him find peace. Heal whatever broke inside him that made him do what he did. Rebecca noticed the difference first. You're different, she said one morning. Lighter. 6 months later, Marcus sent a text to David's last known number. Not an apology request. Not a demand for closure. Just, I'm working on forgiveness. It's a process. But I wanted you to know I'm trying. David responded immediately. Tears. His own apology, a real one this time, not excuses. They met for coffee at a Starbucks near Marcus's office. It was awkward as hell. Long silences. Careful words. David tried to explain what happened. Gambling addiction, shame, panic. It didn't make it okay, but it made him human. Marcus didn't feel sudden warmth or brotherly love. He felt lighter, like he'd been carrying a backpack full of rocks for 12 years and finally set it down. They're not close now. Probably never will be. They text on birthdays. That's it. But Marcus is free. Free to enjoy his success without fear. Free to trust his wife with finances. Free to let his kids make mistakes without exploding. The forgiveness didn't restore the relationship, but it restored him. Bear with each other and forgive as the Lord forgave you. Right now, there's someone's name in your head. Someone who cost you years of your life. Money you'll never get back. Trust that shattered. Opportunities that disappeared. And you tried everything. Therapy, time, distance, prayer, but the anger is still there. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. You can't forgive them. Not in your own strength. The debt is too big. The wound too deep. The injustice too real. But here's the better truth. God can forgive them through you. Not because they deserve it. They don't. Not because what they did was okay. It wasn't. But because you've been forgiven for a debt you could never repay. And when you really grasp the size of what's been forgiven in your own life, forgiving others stops being impossible and starts being inevitable. It won't happen overnight. You'll have days where the anger floods back. Days where you question whether you've forgiven anything at all. That's normal. Forgiveness isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily surrender. A daily choice to release what you can't carry. 2 years from now, you might not have a restored relationship. That's okay. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. It doesn't mean trust is automatically rebuilt. It doesn't mean you forget or pretend it didn't happen. It means you're no longer chained to it. The question is, are you ready to set down that weight? Because the freedom you've been searching for doesn't start with them changing. It starts with you receiving what God's already given you. And that changes everything.